There is a truth that has been kept from you throughout your entire life. A truth about who you really are and why you have always felt that you had something greater to do in this world. If you were born between 1961 and 0990, you need to listen to this carefully. You did not arrive here by accident. You chose to be born exactly during this period because your soul knew that something monumental was happening on planet Earth. And I am going to show you why. Between 1961 and 1990, the universe opened a cosmic window that had not occurred for millennia. Spiritual astrologers call this a dimensional portal. Quantum scientists talk about rare energetic alignments, but what really matters is this. During those 29 years, the Earth's vibrational frequency changed, and specific souls were called to incarnate exactly at that moment. You are not new here. You are extremely ancient. There is a secret that spiritual traditions have guarded for centuries. Not all souls are the same age. Some are young, experiencing physical life for the first or second time. Others are incredibly ancient, having gone through hundreds, perhaps thousands of incarnations, and you belong to the second group. If you were born between 1961 and 1990, your soul has been here before, many times before, and I'm not talking about ordinary lives. I'm talking about incarnations at crucial moments in human history, moments of great construction, moments of great collapse, moments that define the course of civilization. You were once a priest in ancient temples. You were once a healer in societies that mastered knowledge we now call impossible. You were once a guardian of wisdoms that were deliberately erased from history books. Your soul carries memories of Atlantis, of Lamria, of ancient Egypt, of Sumeria, of civilizations that existed even before historians admit. And I know what you're thinking, but how can I be sure of this? The answer lies in your own life experience. I will give you some clear signs. First, you have always had an inexplicable fascination with ancient cultures. When you see pyramids, ancient temples, or esoteric symbols, something inside you lights up. It's not just academic interest, it's recognition. It's like looking at an old photograph and seeing a place where you have already been, even if your logical mind says that this is impossible. Second, you learn certain things at an abnormal speed. It could be energy healing, it could be astrology, it could be deep meditation, it could be understanding sacred symbols. You are not learning, you are remembering. That's why it feels so familiar. That's why you feel like you already know even before studying. Third, you have recurring dreams about places that no longer exist. Submerged temples, crystal cities, landscapes that do not correspond to any place on present-day Earth. These are not ordinary dreams. They are fragmented memories leaking through the dimensional veil that separates your past lives from your present life. Fourth, you feel a deep sadness without any apparent reason when you think about lost knowledge. There is a pain inside you when you remember that libraries were burned, that temples were destroyed, that wisdoms were erased. That pain is personal because you were there, you saw it happen, and on a deep level of your soul, you still carry the grief of that loss. Since childhood, you knew. You didn't need anyone to tell you. You just knew you were different. It was a silent and persistent awareness that you didn't fit into the world the same way other people did. While your schoolmates were worried about superficial things, you were asking deep questions, questions that made adults uncomfortable. Why are we here? What happens after we die? Why do people do bad things? Where does the universe come from? Your parents didn't know how to answer. Your teachers changed the subject, and you grew up understanding that your questions weren't welcome. So you learned to stay quiet. You learned to pretend you were like everyone else. You learned to wear a social mask to protect yourself. But inside, that feeling of not belonging only grew stronger. And the more you tried to fit in, the more distant you felt. Let me tell you what was really happening. You were operating on a different frequency. Literally, your energetic vibration was higher than most people around you. And when you're vibrating on one frequency and everyone else is vibrating on another, you feel like a radio tuned to a station no one else can hear. That explains so many things from your childhood and adolescence. It explains why you felt exhausted after spending time in large groups. It explains why you preferred solitude over the chaos of parties and social events. It explains why you always had few friends. But the friends you did have were deep and intense connections. You weren't shy. You weren't antisocial. You simply couldn't tolerate superficial conversations and empty interactions. When people talked about gossip, about consumerism, about social competition, something inside you shut off. You pretended to be interested in education, but your soul was screaming, this doesn't matter. There are far greater things happening, and you were right. While everyone else was being programmed to fit into the system, to follow the rules without question, to accept the official narrative about everything, you had an internal lie detector that couldn't be turned off. You noticed the inconsistencies. You saw through the social masks. You could feel when someone was being fake, even if they were saying the right words. That sensitivity was a gift, but it felt like a curse because it made everything harder. You couldn't just accept what you were told and move on. You needed to question. You needed to understand. You needed to go deeper. At school, you probably had problems, not because you were dumb. Quite the opposite. You were too intelligent for the rigid and outdated educational system. You learned differently. You thought in a nonlinear way. You saw connections that the teachers didn't see. And when you tried to share your insights, you were silenced, corrected, or even ridiculed. So you began to believe that something was wrong with you. Maybe you were inadequate. Maybe you were the problem. You internalized that message and carried it for years, maybe even to this day. But I'm going to tell you the truth that no one ever told you. There was never anything wrong with you. The problem was never you. The problem was that you were a high-frequency soul trying to exist in a low-frequency system. It was like putting a Formula One car on a dirt road full of potholes. The car isn't broken. The road is just inadequate. You felt different because you are different, and that difference is not a flaw. It's exactly what qualifies you for the mission you came here to fulfill. Let's talk about some specific experiences that likely marked you. You had moments in childhood where you saw or felt things you couldn't explain. Maybe you saw strange lights. Maybe you felt presences in your room at night. Maybe you had out-of-body experiences without even knowing what that was. Maybe you saw the future in dreams, and then it happened exactly as you dreamed. When you told adults, they dismissed it as childish imagination. They said you were making things up, that it was just a dream, that it wasn't real, and you learned not to share those experiences anymore. You learned to doubt your own perception. You learned to shut down your natural gifts to be accepted. That was traumatic. And I need you to understand this. It was traumatic because you were forced to deny your true nature to survive socially. It was like cutting off your own wings to fit inside a box. But the wings never completely disappeared. They stayed folded, hidden, waiting for the right moment to open again. As you grew up, the feeling of being different manifested in other ways. You looked at the life everyone expected you to live and felt a deep emptiness. College, traditional job, conventional marriage, house, car, retirement. That assembly line of existence felt like a prison. It felt like death in life. You wanted more. You wanted meaning. You wanted purpose. You wanted to live in a way that truly mattered. And everyone thought you were being immature, idealistic, or irresponsible for thinking that way. But you weren't. You were listening to the call of your soul. And your soul knew that you didn't come here to live a mediocre life. You came for something greater. That feeling of being different also showed up in your relationships. You had a hard time connecting romantically with people who didn't understand your depth. Superficial conversations suffocated you. The lack of spiritual interest frustrated you. You needed someone who saw the world in the same complex and multidimensional way that you did. And those relationships were rare, very rare. So you spent long periods alone because you couldn't find anyone who matched you. And at some point you started to wonder if you'd be alone forever, but you are not alone. There are millions of people like you, millions who were born during the same cosmic window, millions who feel exactly what you feel, millions who carry the same sense of not belonging. You're scattered around the world, but you're connected by an invisible network of shared consciousness. And as the global awakening intensifies, you are finding each other through the internet, through synchronicities, through encounters that feel destined. The tribe is coming together. And when you finally meet someone who truly understands you, who speaks your spiritual language, who sees the world through the same eyes as you, something inside you heals because you realize it wasn't you. It was never you. You were right all along. The world was gaslighting you. The world was trying to convince you that your perception was wrong. You have abilities that most people consider impossible. I'm talking about real, measurable capacities that you've experienced countless times, but probably dismissed as coincidence. How many times have you thought about someone and seconds later that person called or messaged you? How many times have you felt something was going to happen and it happened exactly as you predicted? How many times have you walked into a place and immediately felt you needed to leave and later found out something was wrong there? How many times have you met someone and instantly known whether or not you could trust them? That's not coincidence. That's intuition operating on levels that conventional science is only beginning to understand. And you, having been born between 1961 and 1990, came equipped with these gifts at an amplified level. Let's start with clairvoyance. Clairvoyance means clear seeing. It's the ability to receive visual information beyond the normal spectrum of perception. And you have this. Maybe you don't see colorful auras around people, at least not yet, but you see other things. You see patterns. You see through people. You look at someone and know when they're lying, when they're hiding something, when they're afraid, even if they're smiling. You see the energy behind the words, and that gives you a huge advantage, but it also leaves you exhausted because you can't turn that perception off. Then there's clear audience, clear hearing. You hear things that others don't. I'm not talking about literal voices, although some people do experience that. I'm talking about that inner voice that guides you, that subtle whisper that tells you don't do this or go this way, that inner guidance that shows up at the most important moments. Have you ever ignored that voice and regretted it later because it was right? It's always right. That voice is not imagination. It's your higher self communicating with you. It's your connection to higher dimensions of consciousness. It's information coming from a source that has a much broader view of the situation than your logical mind. Clear sentience is probably your strongest gift, clear knowing. It's when you simply know something without knowing how you know it, without having studied it, without having read it, without having heard it from anyone. You just know. And when someone asks you how you know, you have no answer. You just know. This happens because you are accessing the universal information field. Everything that has ever been thought, felt, experienced, or created exists in an energetic field around the planet. Some people call it the Akashic records. Others call it the collective unconscious. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that you have natural access to this field. That's why you sometimes know things about people you've just met. That's why you sometimes solve problems in creative ways that no one has thought of before. You're not being a genius. You're receiving an information download. Now, let's talk about empathy. I'm talking about feeling other people's emotions as if they were your own. walking into a room and instantly absorbing the entire emotional state of the environment. This is a gift, but it can also be a heavy burden because you carry other people's pain without realizing it. You talk to someone who is sad and leave the conversation feeling depressed for no reason. You watch the news and feel the collective pain of the world as if it were yours. You go to the mall and come home energetically devastated because you absorbed the anxiety of hundreds of people. For years, you probably thought you were weak, too sensitive, that you needed to toughen up. But that's not it. You are not weak, you are porous. Your energetic boundaries are naturally more permeable because you came here to feel, to understand, to connect deeply with the human experience. The problem is that no one taught you energetic protection. No one taught you how to distinguish between your emotions and the emotions of others, or how to cleanse your energy after heavy interactions. So you went through your entire life like an emotional sponge, absorbing everything without knowing how to release it. But this gift of empathy, when properly managed, makes you a natural healer. You have the ability to make people feel seen, heard, and understood in a way that few can. You have the ability to hold emotional space for someone who is suffering. You have the ability to transmit love and compassion in a way that transforms lives. Dreams are another portal to your psychic gifts. You don't have normal dreams. You have lucid dreams, prophetic dreams, dreams where you travel to other dimensions. Sometimes you wake up more tired than when you went to sleep because you spent the entire night working on other planes of existence. Some of your dreams are premonitory. You dream about something, and days, weeks, or months later it happens. Some of your dreams are astral visits. You meet people who are physically distant, or even people who have already died. Some of your dreams are memories of past lives leaking through the veil, and you probably dismissed all of this as just a dream. But it's not. Your dreams are a direct line of communication with non-physical realms. They are messages, they are warnings. Synchronicities happen to you all the time. Repeating numbers, you look at the clock and it's always 11, 11, 2, 22, 3:33. You think of a song and it plays on the radio. You need an answer and a stranger on the street says exactly what you needed to hear. You're thinking about changing careers and you receive an unexpected offer. These are not coincidences. The universe is constantly sending you signs, validations, confirmations. It's showing you that you're on the right path or redirecting you when you're drifting off course. But you only notice these signs if you're paying attention. You also have healing abilities. Maybe you haven't consciously developed them yet, but people feel better in your presence. They seek you out when they're not well. They open up to you in ways they don't with anyone else. They tell you, talking to you made me feel so much better, and you didn't even do anything specific. This happens because your energy has a natural healing quality. Your frequency is harmonizing. When someone who is out of balance enters your energetic field, they automatically begin to realign. You are like a spiritual tuning fork. You help people return to their natural frequency. But here's the problem. Most of you were taught to distrust these gifts. You were taught that this is from the devil, that it's dangerous, that it's madness. So you spent your entire life trying to suppress exactly what is your greatest strength. And the more you suppress it, the more chaotic your life becomes because you are fighting against your own nature. It's like a bird that was convinced it shouldn't fly. It can spend its entire life walking on the ground, but it will always feel that something is missing. Your psychic gifts are not optional. They are part of who you are, and they won't disappear just because you ignore them. In fact, when you try to suppress them, they manifest in uncontrolled ways. Unexplained anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, chronic exhaustion, emotional overload. All of this happens because you are trying to contain an energy that needs to flow. It's like blocking a river. the water will find a way out, even if it means overflowing the banks and causing destruction. The solution is not suppression. The solution is learning to work consciously with these gifts. It's learning to control them instead of being controlled by them. It's understanding that you have more sophisticated psychic equipment than most people, and that this equipment needs maintenance, protection, and intentional development. And the more you accept and develop these gifts, the more powerful you become. Before continuing, get ready to take the next step in your personal and spiritual evolution. In the Quantum Thinking Challenge, in 21 days, you will have access to exercises and practices to reprogram your mind, align your energy, and begin to co-create a new reality. The success stories I've already received are truly inspiring. Could the next transformation story be yours? Check the first pinned comment. If the mission were easy, you wouldn't need to be here. Any soul could simply descend, do the work, and go back up. But that's not how it works. You came with heavy baggage. You came with specific challenges that were carefully chosen before your birth. And these challenges are not punishment. They are training. Karma is not about divine punishment. Karma is about balance. It's about completing cycles. It's about learning lessons that were left unfinished from other lives. And you, being an ancient soul, carry karma from multiple incarnations. Some of these wounds are thousands of years old. Let's start with the most common challenge among you. The struggle with the materialistic system. You live in a world that values money above all else. A world where your worth is measured by your bank account, your house, your car. A world that forces you to sell your time, your energy, your life in exchange for survival. And you hate this. You hate it with every fiber of your being. You can't motivate yourself to work 8 hours a day at something that has no meaning. You can't fake enthusiasm for empty corporate goals. You can't sacrifice your mental and spiritual health in the name of financial success. But at the same time, you need to pay bills. You need to eat. You need a place to live. So you feel trapped between your need for physical survival and your need for spiritual integrity. And this tension destroys you from the inside. This challenge is not accidental. You came to resolve the question of spiritual abundance versus materialism. You came to learn how to prosper financially without selling your soul. You came to prove that it is possible to live aligned with your purpose and have material security. You came to break the old pattern that says spirituality and money don't mix. But to do that, you first need to heal your relationship with money. You need to understand that money is just energy. It's not good or bad. It's a tool. And you can use this tool to amplify your mission of light. Or you can keep believing that money is dirty and stay in financial struggle. Another huge challenge is technology. You were born in an era of technological explosion. You saw the world shift from analog to digital. You saw the internet connect the planet. You saw smartphones put all of human knowledge in the palm of your hand. And at the same time, you saw this same technology being used for control, manipulation, addiction, and human disconnection. This puts you in a dilemma because you recognize the potential of technology for good. You see how it can spread information, connect people, democratize knowledge, but you also see the dark side. Social media draining people's souls, fake news manipulating minds, constant surveillance, the replacement of real connections with superficial virtual interactions. You came to learn how to walk that line. You came to use technology consciously, not be used by it. You came to teach others to do the same because technology isn't going away, it's only going to intensify. And someone needs to ensure it serves human evolution, not degradation. Loneliness is another brutal challenge. You spend a large part of your life feeling deeply alone, even when surrounded by people, even in relationships, because no one truly understood you. No one saw your depth. No one could go to the dark and luminous places of your soul without fear. That loneliness created wounds, wounds of rejection, of abandonment, of not being seen for who you really are. And those wounds made you build walls, made you distrust, made you believe that maybe you're destined to be alone forever. You also came to face your own addictions and self-destructive patterns. Maybe it's alcohol. Maybe it's food. Maybe it's toxic relationships. Maybe it's procrastination. Maybe it's self-sabotage. Everyone has their particular poison. These patterns are not character flaws. They're survival mechanisms you develop to cope with pain that felt unbearable. They are ways to numb, to escape, to not feel. But they also keep you stuck, keep you small, keep you from accessing your full power. The depression and anxiety that so many of you face are also part of the challenge. They are not just chemical imbalances. Although brain chemistry is involved, they are symptoms of a soul trying to exist in a world that wasn't made for it. They are the pressure of carrying so much light on a planet still so dense. You came to learn how to manage your extreme sensitivity, to learn how to protect your energy, to learn how to create healthy boundaries, learning that you can care deeply about the suffering of the world without carrying all that suffering on your shoulders. All of these challenges have something in common. They force you to choose between fear and love, between limitation and expansion, between living small or living large, between denying who you are or fully embracing your truth. And those choices are never easy, because the path of fear, limitation, and denial is the familiar one. It's the path that society approves of. It's the path where you fit in. But your soul's path is the unknown path. It's the path no one can validate for you. It's the path you have to walk alone, at least at first, until you find your tribe. The challenges you face are opportunities for accelerated growth. They are portals of transformation. They are exactly what you need to become who you came here to be. And every time you face one of these challenges, every time you choose the path of courage over fear, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing the entire lineage of your past lives. You're breaking patterns that have existed for millennia. You are already awakening. It's not something that will happen in the future. It's happening now. And if you're reading this, paying attention, feeling something resonate within you, then the process is already underway. You didn't find this content by accident. You were guided here because your soul is ready for the next phase. Spiritual awakening is not a one-time event. It's not like waking up in the morning after a night's sleep. It's a gradual, layered process that happens in waves. Sometimes it's subtle, other times it's devastating. But there are always clear signs that it's happening. The first sign is intense questioning. You've started to question everything. Absolutely everything. The beliefs you were taught in childhood, society's rules, the purpose of your life, the nature of reality, the existence of God, the meaning of death, why we're here, where we're going. These questions are not abstract philosophical musings for you. They are urgent. They keep you awake at night. They consume you, and you can no longer accept ready-made answers. You can no longer swallow what you're told without chewing it first. You need to know the truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable. This questioning is the first stage of awakening. It's your soul shaking you out of sleep. It's your consciousness expanding beyond the limits that were imposed on it. And yes, it's unsettling because everything you thought you knew is being dismantled. The second sign is the multiplication of synchronicities. They're happening all the time now, repeating numbers everywhere. You think of someone and that person appears. You need a piece of information and it arrives in an unexpected way. You ask the universe a question and receive a clear answer through a song, through a conversation you overhear by chance, through a billboard on the street. These synchronicities are not your imagination. They are the universe communicating with you. It's as if you've leveled up in consciousness and now can see the web of connections that was always there, but that you didn't notice before. You're beginning to see the bigger picture, the intelligence behind everything. The third sign is a change in your physical energy. You're more tired than ever, or you have bursts of energy that you can't explain. Your sleep pattern has completely changed. You wake up at the same time in the middle of the night, usually between 2 o'clock a.m. and 4 o'clock a.m. You have waves of heat or cold for no apparent reason. Your appetite has changed. Your body is asking for different things. This is happening because your physical body is going through a recalibration. Your vibrational frequency is rising. And when the frequency rises, the body needs to adjust. It's literally an upgrade of your biological hardware to hold more light. And that upgrade is uncomfortable. You're also developing new sensitivities. Foods you've always eaten now make you feel sick. Alcohol hits you much harder. Caffeine makes you anxious. Red meat feels too heavy. Your body is asking for lighter foods, more alive with more vital energy. It's rejecting everything that is dense, toxic, and low vibration. The fourth sign is the distancing from old relationships. Friendships that lasted for years suddenly don't make sense anymore. You look at people who were once important to you and realize you no longer have anything in common. The conversations are shallow, the values are different, the energy is heavy, and you start to distance yourself. Sometimes gradually, sometimes abruptly, and it hurts because you don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to be seen as arrogant or superior, but you simply can't pretend anymore. You can't force connections that no longer exist. This isn't cruelty, it's alignment. You're vibrating on a different frequency now. And naturally, you attract people who vibrate at that same frequency while those who don't begin to fall away. It's spiritual physics, it's not personal. The fifth sign is a pull toward esoteric knowledge. Suddenly, you're consumed by subjects that never interested you before. Astrology, numerology, Akashic records, sacred geometry, ancient civilizations, quantum physics, meditation, channeling, shamanism. You're consuming this knowledge with a ravenous hunger, watching videos, reading books, taking courses, and all of it makes sense in a deep way, as if you already knew all of this, but had forgotten, as if you're just remembering, because that's exactly what's happening. You're accessing past life memories where you had this knowledge. You are unlocking wisdom that has been stored within you, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The sixth sign is direct spiritual experiences. You're having experiences that you can't explain rationally. Maybe you saw a bright light during meditation. Maybe you felt a loving presence beside you when you were alone. Maybe you had a vision that later came true. Maybe you heard an inner voice guiding you. These experiences are terrifying and wonderful at the same time because they prove to you that there is so much more than the physical world. They completely shatter your materialistic view of reality. And once you have an experience like that, you're never the same again. You can never go back to a state of ignorance. The seventh sign is the need for solitude. You need to be alone much more than before. Not because you're depressed or antisocial, but because you need to process everything that's happening. You need silence to hear your inner voice. You need space to integrate the transformations you're going through. You've started to love your own company. You've begun to value silence more than empty conversation. You'd rather spend a night alone at home reading a spiritual book than go to a loud party with people who don't understand you. This isn't unhealthy isolation. It's sacred retreat. It's creating the space needed for your transformation to happen. It's protecting your energy from external influences that could slow down your process. The eighth sign is a change in values. Things that once mattered to you now seem irrelevant. Social status doesn't matter anymore. Impressing people doesn't matter anymore. Accumulating material goods doesn't matter anymore. Competing with others doesn't matter anymore. What matters now is authenticity, genuine connection, personal growth, meaningful contribution. You're measuring success completely differently, not by how much you have, but by how much you've evolved. Not by how much you've achieved externally, but by how much you've transformed internally. The ninth sign is intense and vivid dreams. Your dreams have completely changed. They're more colorful, more realistic, more symbolic. You wake up and remember every detail. And these dreams carry clear messages, warnings, guidance, healing, encounters with spiritual guides. You've started to realize that your spiritual work doesn't stop when you go to sleep. You continue working in other dimensions during the night, receiving teachings, processing traumas, visiting places in other planes of existence. The 10th sign is a sense of urgency. You feel that time is speeding up, that there's no time to waste, that you need to move quickly toward your purpose. There is an internal pressure, not stressful but persistent, pushing you forward. That urgency is real because we are at a crucial moment. The planetary transformation window doesn't stay open forever, and your soul knows that. That's why it's pushing you, nudging you, reminding you it's now, not a year from now, not when you feel ready. Now, the 11th sign is the need for radical authenticity. You can no longer lie. Not even small social lies. You can no longer pretend you're okay when you're not. You can't agree with things you disagree with just to avoid conflict. You can't wear masks anymore. This need for authenticity might cost you relationships. It might cost you opportunities. It might make you seem difficult or inflexible. But you have no choice because living in a lie, even a comfortable one, kills you inside. And the last sign, perhaps the most important, you feel a calling. You can't quite describe what it is, but you know there is something you need to do, a mission you must fulfill, a work that only you can do. This calling is getting louder, clearer, impossible to ignore. And even if you don't yet know exactly how to answer it, you know you can't pretend it doesn't exist anymore. If you recognize most of these signs in yourself, then there's no doubt your awakening has already begun. You are already on the path and there's no going back. No matter how scary it is sometimes, no matter how uncomfortable it gets, you can't go back to sleep. Now, we get to the practical part. You already know who you are. You know why you're here. You've recognized the signs of your awakening. But knowing is not enough. You need to activate. You need to embody. You need to turn knowledge into lived power. And when I say power, I'm not talking about power over others. I'm talking about the power to create your reality, the power to manifest your mission, the power to live completely aligned with who you really are. That power has always been inside you, but it was dormant, and now it's time to fully awaken it. The first key to activating your spiritual power is presence. Total presence in the present moment, because all your power exists only now, not in the past, not in the future. Now you spend most of your time mentally absent, thinking about what happened yesterday, worrying about what might happen tomorrow, planning, ruminating, fantasizing. And while your mind is in all those places, your power is scattered, fragmented, ineffective. When you bring your awareness fully into the now, when you anchor yourself completely in the present moment, something magical happens. You access a state of concentrated power. It's like taking diffused light and focusing it through a lens. Diffused light is weak, but focused light can cut through metal. Meditation is the most powerful tool to develop presence. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hours a day. Start with 5 minutes. Sit, breathe, observe your breath when your mind wanders, and it will gently bring your attention back to your breath. Do this every day, no exceptions, because consistency is more important than intensity. 5 minutes every day has more impact than 1 hour once a week. You're training your mind, and training requires repetition. The second key is energetic cleansing. You can't operate at maximum power if your energetic field is dirty. And it is. You absorb negative energy every day from people, from environments, from the news, from your own dense emotions. You need to cleanse this regularly, and there are simple ways to do it. A coarse salt bath is one of the most effective. Put coarse salt in your bath water. Or if you don't have a bathtub, rub coarse salt on your body during a shower. Salt absorbs and neutralizes dense energy. Smudging also works. White sage, Palo Santo, rosemary, light it, let it burn a bit. Blow out the flame and let the smoke surround your body. Visualize the smoke carrying away all energy that isn't yours. Spending time in nature is automatic cleansing. The earth naturally absorbs dense energy. Walk barefoot on grass, hug a tree. And yes, I know how that sounds, but trees are extremely wise beings and can instantly transmute negative energy. Put your feet in the sand. Swim in natural water, rivers, waterfalls, the ocean. The third key is conscious eating. Your physical body is the vehicle your soul uses to navigate this world. If that vehicle is clogged with low vibration food, your ability to channel high vibration energy is limited. Processed food, fast food, refined sugar, excess alcohol, meat from animals raised in suffering. All of this carries low frequency. And when you consume it regularly, you are literally feeding your body with density. I'm not saying you can never eat something you enjoy again. I'm saying be conscious. Notice how you feel after eating certain things. Your body will tell you what works and what doesn't. Increase your intake of living foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, pure water. These foods carry life force. They were nourished by the sun, the earth, the water. They have light in them, and when you consume them, you are literally eating light. The fourth key is conscious breathing. You breathe automatically all the time, but conscious breathing is different. Conscious breathing moves energy, clears blockages, activates energy centers, alters states of consciousness. There are many techniques, but I'll give you a simple and powerful one. The 478 breath. Inhale through your nose, counting to 4. Hold your breath, counting to 7. Exhale through your mouth, counting to 8. Repeat this for a few minutes. This breathing calms the nervous system. It takes you out of fight or flight mode and into a state of healing and regeneration. And when your nervous system is calm, you can access higher states of consciousness. The fifth key is working with your chakras. Chakras are energy centers in your body. When they are blocked or out of alignment, you can't access your full power. It's like having roads blocked. Energy doesn't flow. You have 7 main chakras: root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. Each one governs different aspects of your life, and each one can be activated and balanced through specific practices. Guided chakra meditations are